Since the founding of the city, one of the most dynamic and powerful components of Los Angeles was Los Angeles Times. It was the massive business influence engine that drove LA's growth from the founding of the city in 1881 or so through the Depression, when they built this enormous downtown headquarters. And in most of my young life, it was a powerful institution that determined the agenda for business, for sports, for politics, for news. What the heck happened? The LA Times has laid off about 20% of its news staff, along with so many other organizations. And the obvious reason is they're not giving their customer what they want. It's not true that the news industry is imploding. Not at all true. There's more news than ever. It's just that they didn't keep up with what customers wanted. They didn't deliver online services. They didn't deliver good insight that people subscribe to. Look at Joe Rogan. He talks about news events for hours a day. Look at Barstool Sports on the sports side. Look at, on the business side, all kinds of websites and specialized blogs on different topics. Me and real estate. More people, I think, watch my videos than watch the LA Times on video, because they don't do video content that people want to watch on real estate. And so because they stopped delivering, but they thought they had a right to the marketplace of ideas. And these are people who back during COVID were kind of attempting to enforce censorship so only their point of view would be heard. The reality is the consumers have rejected LA Times and their ilk, Washington Post, New York Times. And as a result, they're suffering from a lack of watching. I want to focus on the content. And I think really the LA Times lost its way. And let's take a look at the content. I think you'll see, you may agree with me, that it's not just the economics. It's just they're writing stories nobody cares about or would be interested to see. So here's a recent online edition that really is a collection of stories that if you bought the paper, I only saw the paper for sale myself recently in a gas station, and they had like 2 or 3 for sale on the counter. They used to have racks of the LA Times, stacks and racks. They had like 3 or 4 issues. Nobody was buying it. One story note come to my mind: Palm Springs capped short-term rentals, meaning they limit how much you could rent for, how often you could rent, the price you could charge. Now, some home prices are in free fall, as if they discovered fire. In the world of investments, the value of any instrument is a reflection of the return that it gets. So if you limit the return, you limit the value. If your stock, instead of yielding 10%, yields 5%, it will sell for less. That's just a mathematical principle. And yet here the LA Times makes it sound like it's some sort of news story. Gee, capping the rents. It should have been, why didn't politicians in Palm Springs figure out that would cause a drop in prices? And the answer is they don't really care. They want people so stupid that they'll click on, they're not going to read it. And they're highlighting here HomeSmart. I'm sure they pitch HomeSmart for advertising. That's really their game plan. It's just if you're a monopoly, that game works. But in a marketplace where people come to you for good ideas, who's dumb enough to click on that? Not enough people, apparently. Here's one: opinion. At least they put the word opinion in. It's all opinion. The whole LA Times is opinion. Opinion. In LA, real estate envy is all too real. I can't stop looking at Zillow. So here this opinion writer is saying, basically, he's insulting Los Angeles as if we're the only place that has real estate envy. Newsflash, Zillow is an international website. So people who are watching Zillow around the world, you don't get far in business insulting your own customers. And then he says, I can't stop looking at it. So in essence, he's saying, I envy other people, which is a mortal sin, right? We're not supposed to envy people. And the writer admits they can't stop looking at it. That'd be like saying, I'm married and I stare at provocatively dressed women and I can't stop it. That may be true, but I don't brag about it or write an article about it and put it on the cover of the LA Times. I would be embarrassed. I'd want to seek help. I'd want to work on improving myself. Why would I admit I have envy and I can't stop it and write an article about it and put that on the cover of the LA Times? Here's another article that I think really emblemizes the LA Times downfall. California, interesting phrase, offers affordable loans again to first-time home buyers with a catch. Now, California. Who's California? Is it the state? Well, it is the state of California. It's a state of California program. It's the state government politicians who basically steal money from us as taxpayers, and then they put their picture on it. In fact, normally that article has a picture of Gavin Newsom as though it's his money, or some other politician as though it's their money, right? But California offers, because they're trying to make California look like an attractive place to buy property. But this program, affordable loans, and it says again, why? Because a year ago they did it. The problem with the program is there's so little money in the whole marketplace. You can't tax your way out of a bad economy. It's impossible. You can't steal money from one group to make up for the fact that you stole so much. The economy is bad. The math just doesn't work. And so this program has very little loans. But what happened was the politicians came up with a new game plan to fool people. They said, what we'll do is, instead of having the loans go to people as they apply, we'll have a bunch of people apply for these loans. We'll do a lottery. And that way all these people will be applying for our loan and getting our information and basically begging us. And it's as though your home purchase is dependent on the blessing from the state. It's just such a mixed up relationship. And it just so confuses the process. If they just didn't spend the money, that would reduce inflationary pressure. That would have a better effect than these politicians and their administration wasting money on all that. I want to show one last article. Intimate partner violence is a precursor to homelessness, study finds. Now, no excuse for partner violence of any sort. And of course, everybody's sensitive to that. I used to live across the street from a halfway house for women who left abusive marriages, had kids, and this organization bought this house, and they would put them up and help them get their lives together. And I'd met some of these young girls. I was probably 21 at the time. Most were older. And it was just heartbreaking to watch, these broken women. But, we have millions of homeless people. You would tell me they're all because of domestic violence? No. This is just part of the LA Times kind of paying their homage to the Democratic political party to legitimize homelessness. We should all just go, oh, well, these poor people, they lost their job. They're in this case, victims of domestic violence. Look, some are. It always has been some small percentage, but the vast majority are drug affected by the legalization of drugs, have mental health issues because we're not treating mental health, and people come here with no preparation at all, no education from around the world into a city that doesn't have the resources to support them. That's 90% of the problem of those three. I'm sure there's some domestic violence victims, and my heart goes for them. And there's organizations designed to help them, and we should all help them. But let's not pretend that that's really what the homeless situation is about. Let's not legitimize. When I drive on the street every day, there's people in the street that shouldn't be there. Let's not say, oh, that's because of domestic violence. No, it's because of the policies that our government has created and our poor economy overall. And we need to fix that and not use these victims as excuses for poor government policies, in my opinion. So it's sad to see the LA Times, but I think at the end of the day, their product has not been one that customers want to pay for in subscription form on paper. They want to pay for it behind the paywall on their articles. They're pandering, didn't create enough advertising and government support. And at the end of the day, they're struggling. They're not out of business yet, but it's inevitable. Somebody will buy them and rebrand them, and they'll just be some website that one day people will say, what is that LA Times thing? Well, it's like this one and that one, and there's 50 other companies like them. So that's the news in real estate. What should you do? Well, it really depends on what your goals are. We want to make sure that we're following the right plan for you and the right plan for the market right now that is in our local market or the market you're going to do business in. So if I can help, reach out, call, text, email, @BillGross@Probate on social media. I have a new podcast I put out, Real Estate Ripoff, holding big organizations accountable, where I do an in-depth on one company at a time. Last week was on, this current one launching is on credit reporting agencies and what a ripoff that is to consumers. Love to get your feedback on that. There'll be a link here below. If I can help you, as always, @BillGrossProbate, make today your best day ever. Thanks so much.